This is Dave McCain with the Right Tree Genealogy. I'm doing another DNA topic. 3 different DNA tests. What are they? Disclaimer, these are my opinions and you should research the topic yourself. 3. I thought DNA was DNA. Well, DNA is DNA. However, different tests exist to focus on different sections of DNA for different reasons. These tests are autosomal, or atDNA, Y chromosome, or yDNA, and mitochondrial, or mtDNA. Well, that makes it complicated. Well, here's something that might make it easier. It's not really that complicated. Here's a quick way to look at separate tests. atDNA is actually family cousin DNA. yDNA is father-dad DNA. And mtDNA is mother-mom DNA. I have some examples of pictures here just representing my father, my mother, and a family group. Okay, so what does each one of these mean? atDNA, family cousin DNA, is a test offered by a lot of companies out there, and most people look at it for ethnicity estimates. You can see my other video I did just on ethnicity estimates if you want to. And cousin matching. This DNA test usually has thousands of matches, ranging from your parents, siblings, to close cousins, to distant cousins, to even people that are false matches, but that's not a topic I'm going to discuss today. Now let's take a look at an example of this from Ancestry, and this is my personal account, personal information. Example of close family cousin DNA. You have my mother and my father listed at the top of this, and you have another family member. Now, make a note here, these examples are from Ancestry.com, my personal account. I have blocked out names for those that I have not received permission to display names. So the left side shows what's considered close family, and the right side shows distant family cousins. And these being at 20 centimorgans, and again, that's a discussion at a higher level, they're at a high distance. You're talking third cousins, fourth cousins, second cousins at times. So these are examples of what the family cousin DNA shows you, actual relationships to others. Okay, so what is yDNA? Father-dad DNA is the paternal line only and can only be completed by a male family member. This could be your father, your brother, an uncle on that line. This could be done on your mother's line as well with an uncle or a male cousin. There are different test levels at some companies, and that needs to be understood. Important note, this must be a male-only line back in time. A son, then his father, then his grandfather, then his great-grandfather, and so on that paternal line. Let's take a look at a quick example of what the DNA looks like from my personal account on Family Tree DNA. On the left side is the lowest level they offer, but other companies, again, each company offers different levels of testing. This is Family Tree DNA, something I'm familiar with, and I'm showing it here. And I've taken it the lowest level they offer today as of the recording of this video, and that's 37 markers or STRs. This represents my top match at 37, and it represents several matches down. It shows you, I'm going to do a quick overview of what this means. This column here says what level of testing these individuals have actually done. A top level person has done the 700 or the big Y, which is over here. The second person has only done 67 that was available at the time. The third column here tells, okay, how do you match this person at 37 markers or STRs? It says I exactly match Sanford. I'm 3 steps, or I have 3 differences between this person, 1 here, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3. And then this just says, is the big Y test available here, showing data for this person. And at 609 of those separately, it just shows that I have 0 differences. And this is what's called your subclade, your haplogroup, your terminal SNP, single nucleotide polymorphisms. They got different names, and again, that's the higher level detail than what this video is for. The most common European representation is the R, But again, you could be in different groups. And this column simply says how the tester has listed themselves, where their country of origin is. Another form of the test, this is the highest level test that's available at this particular company, Family Tree DNA. And again, I've chosen to use Family Tree DNA. I have experience with it. There are other companies out there. In this particular case, this is my father's what's called block tree, and it was developed by Alexander R. Williamson. This represents my father's R terminal SNP branching with my father here. And also then it steps up to cousins, and then DNA cousins even further back. And a point of interest here is yDNA steps back thousands of years. Just because you don't recognize a person's name, it could be that it steps back further in time and your name changed, or there was a time and it was at a point in time in history that surnames didn't exist in that particular country. Again, higher level detail, not necessary in this video. mtDNA, mother, mom, DNA. This is as it sounds. It comes only from the maternal line, from your mom. However, males and females can both test. It's anybody can take this test. It's not restricted to a male only, because this is passed on from mother to child. Important note, this will test only child to their mother, to their grandmother and great-grandmother on the maternal line. Very important to understand, maternal line. Just take a quick look at this again from Family Tree DNA, my personal account. This DNA is representing the highest level test available. They have had 3 different levels of testing. This is the highest level, showing you're furthest down in your haplogroup on the maternal line. There are different haplogroups. There is a haplogroup for mtDNA and there's a haplogroup for yDNA. And again, that's more detailed than necessary in this presentation. This shows you a genetic distance in this case, and that just is kind of similar. It's similar to the yDNA. 0 means you're an exact match. 1 means you're one different in the test regions that they have for this. This is a smaller amount of DNA and cannot be used like yDNA and cousin DNA for finding cousins. I would say it's better just to say that this test can be done. If you take the test and you do not match the person and you both claim the same maternal line, then you're going to have to do more paper trails to understand that. And again, that's a more detailed video in the future. This is for the maternal line only. Now, some final thoughts and recommendations. A final thought process I have is DNA can be interesting and frustrating. I found it helpful in my traditional research and overwhelming with the new possibilities it gives me. Learning the ways each company allows you to look at the DNA can lead you into rabbit holes and hours of wow moments. Always have a research plan before you start. This means that if you just start looking at your DNA, that's what most people do when they first get it. That's fine. Then start putting down on paper, what am I looking for? What am I trying to prove? I need to figure out who my great-grandpa is. Is there some matching here that I can look at that can help me get there? Or my great-grandmother's side for my mom's great-grandfather's mother, that type of thing that yDNA and mtDNA doesn't help with. So put a plan together, or you'll spend hours looking at things very interesting but not get research done. And then a final recommendation is there's a lot to understand in this, and there are a lot of good papers out there, a lot of good presenters out there, a lot of good books out there. But I want to give a personal recommendation. Again, this is my opinion. This is a book that I've read. I just feel that he gives good information. Again, you can find other presenters, you can find other books, so don't hold to just this one being the only one. It just happens to be the one that I recommend, and that is The Family Tree Guide to DNA Testing and Genealogy, 2nd edition, by Dr. Blaine T. Bettner. Now, conclusion. You have options. Let's cover a few things here. Now you understand the main 3 genetic genealogy DNA tests, and I have these closing points. You may not understand them fully. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of information there. Yes, but this is to tell you what they are and what each test really is, so you know what to consider if you go out there and see these online, or somebody tries to sell you something online, or somebody talks to you about, well, you go get a DNA test. Well, these are the 3 types that there are out there. I recommend the family cousin DNA test be your first test, because you have the opportunity to find unknown family members and are able to use these finds to help your traditional genealogical work or your paper trails. I personally like Ancestry, and again, that is my personal preference. This is my opinion. You know, you can look into each one of them and see what you want to do there. I do want to make a note to you on this though. Plan for the unexpected. You may find unknown family, or a term used in the industry is misattributed parentage for you or family line. If this is seen, be thoughtful and consider the possible outcomes before exploring your finds with others. There are people doing this research that are doing it because they don't know who their ancestors are, and when they take the test, they're very excited about this to find who their family is. There's also people taking this test and did not know that something took place when they were younger, and some people have found out they were adopted that did not know that they were. So those are sensitive facts in this, and again, my opinion on this is, you know, be sensitive to the person, be sensitive to what you find out. If someone reaches out to you from either direction, or you reach out to someone else, just make sure you approach it that, you know, this may be a very big shock and may not be welcomed. So just be careful on that aspect of it, on the family cousin DNA part of it. Now, the father DNA and the mother DNA, these tests are really for people that have already done the family cousin DNA testing and want to have a better, more advanced understanding. Each has its own limits and purpose, so make sure you consider this before you spend the money, because they're usually pretty expensive to do either one of those 2 tests, particularly the father dad DNA testing, because it's hundreds of dollars, $400, $500, sometimes even more. It really depends on what you're getting done. So, and that's pretty expensive, a few $100, you know, $100 to $200 for the mom DNA test, and it's pretty limited on what it covers for you, so you need to read up on those. The also thing is I have limited this presentation to an overview, even though I've added a few details. If you really have an interest for me to do an additional topic on either one of these 2, the father DNA, mother DNA, or even the cousin's DNA, make a note in one of my videos, in this video particularly, and I'll look into what I'll put together for this. You know, I could do a special video just on a certain topic. If it's there, I will consider your comments. Please keep it open, keep it positive. This is for learning for everybody. Let's make it a good situation for everyone. And with this, I'm going to close this video. This is Dave McCain with the Right Tree Genealogy. I hope you enjoyed the video you just watched, and consider subscribing, liking, and clicking the bell notification for future videos so we can continue this journey together.